Welcome to Spiritual as Fuck.
Spiritual as fuck.
Where spirituality meets the real world. I'm Liz Volpe, serial entrepreneur, passionate changemaker, and intuitive. I love inspiring people to dream big and create positive change in the world.
I'm Dianne Driscoll, a coach, facilitator, and speaker who uses channeled insights to activate transformation in leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers.
We share real and raw spiritual stories, give you a safe space to challenge what's normal, and have some serious fun along the way.
Come join us as we get spiritual as fuck.
Welcome to a very special bonus episode of Spiritual as Fuck. Today it's Halloween. The veil is thin, the candles are lit, and we have opened the Halloween Hotline. Are you ready, Dianne? We have asked you, our listeners, to call in and share your true ghost stories. From bumps in the night to spirits that won't be ignored, these stories are going to make you question what's lurking just beyond the veil. Now, for me personally, I've always been petrified of all things ghosts. Tonight, I am already feeling scared. The goosebumps are out, so get ready. Things are about to get spooky. First of all, I would love to share a story from one of our listeners, Michelle.
Hi, Dianne and Liz. Here's my ghost story. In 2009, my husband went overseas to work for 6 months. At that time, I had 3 children under 10, so I was feeling pretty sad and anxious about him going away. And, I've always been deeply spiritual, and I actually asked, Spirit for protection, to watch out for us while he was away. And then what happened pretty quickly was that when I dropped the kids off to school the first morning, I felt someone in the car with me. And when I came home, I was at the sink doing dishes and I was feeling pretty sad, having a few tears, and a little smiley face sticker popped up out of the bubbles just from nowhere. And I thought, oh, that's, I said a quiet thank you. I thought, oh, well, that's nice, like I'm being protected. And then the following night, the kids were all in my bedroom. We were getting ready for bed, and I saw a ghost go walking down our hallway, and it was in the form of a monk who was holding a Bible to his chest. And my daughter saw it and said, what was that, Mum? What was it? And I said, oh, I'm not really sure. Anyway, again, I felt protected, but not long after that, just late at night, I started hearing the floorboards creaking outside my bedroom door, and it would wake me up from a deep sleep, and it was obviously making me nervous. But what happened over the sort of next few months was that the creaking floorboards started happening inside my bedroom, just inside the door, and then it sort of gradually moved closer and closer to my bed, to the point where I was absolutely terrified, and I was constantly asking this presence to go to the light, to leave me alone. I wasn't feeling safe, I was feeling scared. And it got to the point where at the last night before my husband came back, I had to call my sister in the middle of the night and get her to come over, and I was just beside myself. I was just so terrified. And I think at that time we decided to do some serious saging of the house, and I can't remember exactly what else we did at the time, but I know there was a few different things that we tried. And eventually the presence did sort of go, but also during that time, when my husband was away, my daughter was always too scared to get dressed in her room. She felt like she was being watched all the time. My youngest son used to play in the hallway, and he was terrified because he said that he didn't call it a ghost, but he said someone used to pop their head in and out of his doorway and scare him. And, so he was always too scared to go in his bedroom, and he used to run. He would have been about 4 years old, and he used to run from room to room in the house. He was just always scared. Yeah, so just recalling this story just seems really quite surreal, but I guess it was a lesson learned that, you just need to be very careful what you're inviting in. And, yeah, I definitely wouldn't be doing that again. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye.
Would I have stayed in that house? No way.
Oh my God. I think anything that involves our kids just has that whole extra element of you're scared for yourself. Like, I'm such a scaredy cat with these things, but I'd be so scared for myself, but then I would be extra scared for my kids. Like
Because you
that.
have to pretend to be brave and be like, no, it's nothing. And secretly
It's
you're running behind the
fine.
corner going,
It's like when Michelle said about the monk and feeling protected. I'm thinking at that stage I would have already been packed and moved. I'm not. No,
I'd have been
it
like,
makes me
husband, you come
realize.
home now.
Oh my God. It's like I'm afraid with a spider, never mind. So yeah, that, Michelle, thank you. That was a bit freaky as far as I'm concerned, because yeah, anything to do with kids is hard. So we're gonna give another one now. This is a really good story from one of our listeners, Deb, who was off on a retreat with her daughter Ashley.
Okay. Thanks, Deb.
My ghost story is a really interesting one, I think. Ashley and I decided to do a past lives retreat in Lancefield, Victoria, a few years ago, and it was held in an old guest house which had originally been built in the 1800s, and in 1919 it was converted into a hospital to house patients that had the Spanish flu, because it was such a big pandemic of that time, and they needed to quarantine people to stem the spread. And then back in the 1990s, it was renovated again into a guest house, which has been ever since then. So there's lots of old rooms and beautiful architecture. It's just a really nice place. So anyway, we checked into our room, and as we walked into the room, to the left immediately was a really old freestanding wardrobe with the mirror on the front. It was beautiful, but it immediately made me feel uneasy, and as soon as we went in, Ash obviously felt it too, because she ran away over to the other side of the room and chose the other bed, leaving me with the bed that was right next to the wardrobe.
I would too.
Being curious, we tried to open the wardrobe door, because we did feel had a bit of energy, but it was really hard to open. It was a bit stuck, probably because it was old. It was obviously like an antique piece of furniture, but we eventually got it open, had a look around inside, joked that maybe it was a portal, and then we decided we didn't want to use it, and we shut it completely, totally, never to be opened again while we were there. So we were excited to do some of our workshops. We were on, like I said, a past lives retreat. So we went and did some regression sessions and forgot about the wardrobe essentially. But every time we would go back to our room, you could feel an energy. So after one particular fairly intense session, we decided to come back to the room and open the door to find the wardrobe door wide open. And like I said before, it wasn't easy to open. It was quite stuck and old. So we just stopped, looked at each other, didn't say a word, quickly slammed the door shut again, the wardrobe door shut again, and went about our business. Didn't talk about it, didn't say anything, just sort of went, what the? I hadn't slept well the night before, because every time I turned over and faced that wardrobe, I would wake up and I couldn't look into that mirror. I couldn't stay facing that way. So I was a bit tired, so I decided to have a bit of power nap facing the other way, and Ash decided that she needed a shower. I pretty much fell asleep straight away, only to be woken by someone tapping me on the arm from behind me. I just assumed it was Ash telling me it was time to get back up and get ready, but I ignored it, thinking, oh no, I'll have a few more moments of relaxation before I get back into things. So I just stayed there with my eyes closed. Next thing, someone grabbed my leg and gave it a good, really hard shove, and I turned over to tell Ash, to relax, calm down, I'm going to get up. There was no one there. Ash was still in the shower. So I have no idea who touched my arm or shoved my leg. When she came out of the bathroom, I told her what had happened, and she started laughing, because apparently before she got in the shower, she used the toilet only to have the toilet paper fly straight off the holder on its own. We then knew immediately we had a visitor in our room. Didn't seem too dangerous or scary, but there was definitely something there. So we went to our next session and told the group what had happened, and the facilitator said, oh, well, I was wondering if that spirit would make themselves known. The owner had told me that that room that I booked you two into had a lot of activity, and many guests had asked to be moved out of that room if they had been given that. So we decided to take the group into the room and see if anyone could connect, see if we could get some information on who this spirit was. So some of them did connect, and we did find out that this was a man that was a patient when the place was a hospital. He had the Spanish flu and had been quarantined there for a long time, and where our room was where his bed had been. And he said he liked to interact and play games with the guests just to let them know that he was around and it was his room. He said he missed his family deeply when he was in the hospital, and his name was Henry. We did have lots of other sightings of the matron of the hospital walking up and down the hallways during our time there, and during some of our sessions the lights would flicker on and off all the time. So it was an interesting place to stay, and probably a good place for a retreat like that. So I hope you liked my story.
Wow. Oh my God. I think what just shows you there is that when things like this happen, it's easy to dismiss things. So it's like, oh, it's just a bit of a creepy feeling. Oh, it's just the wardrobe door is open. And then it's like, but when the toilet roll comes off the holder, when, when your leg is grabbed, it's like, I am sorry. I don't think I could stay there. Like, I really don't think I could.
All I can say is thank God Deb was with a daughter, because imagine being on your own if that's happening, then that really would be a nightmare, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think any of those older, old houses and things like that, we just know that they contain so much history. And the fact that I think for me, what really got my back up was that they knew they put you into the room.
How
they knew there was a spirit, and other people had asked to get out of it. I'm sorry, I would be. Oh God,
it's true though, right? Like you can walk into rooms, it's happened to me so many times, and I'm about to share a story just like this in a minute, that you get the feeling, and people think you're ridiculous, but you get the feeling for a reason, right? So don't doubt it.
Yeah. Get out of Dodge. Unless you're that way inclined, there's plenty of people who completely are.
That's it. Gosh. So yeah, I'd love to share this with you because I know in the past I've spoken about this old house that I grew up in, my dad's old house before. Not sure if you remember, Dianne, but my dad had this house. It was this big old Victorian house. And from the minute that he moved in that house, I was just petrified. And up until then, I didn't really know about ghosts, honestly, but it was so unsettling and so many things happened there. And obviously, my dad, being the most amazing dad in the world, would really try his best to put me at ease. And when he moved out of the house, I'd pester him. This was me as an adult. I'd be like, come on, Dad, you can admit it now. Things really went on in that house. So for the purpose of this special, I asked my dad to be honest and write something down for me to read about this house. Are you ready?
Oh, and is this your first time him explaining to you? Oh, it's like confessions of Liz's dad.
That's right.
And just for our listeners who may not remember, what age were you when you were living in this house? Just so we can imagine little Liz.
God, that's a good question. I reckon from maybe around about 8 or 9 up until being 18 or 17.
Oh, okay.
A long time. Or maybe 16. Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm bad with my memory. But yeah, it was a decent amount of years of me never, ever, ever sleeping, like petrified. All right. So my dad, first of all, just wants to point out that he is an absolute non-believer in anything spooky. He's completely logical. In fact, he's a former mechanical engineer, right? He's now in his 70s. He's just not into this stuff. But I did persuade him just to have some honesty here. So I'm going to read this to you, Dianne.
Thanks, Dad.
In the words of Richard Atkinson, here we go. Okay. Some years earlier, when the children were small, me and my brother, I purchased a Victorian house in a residential area in a small Yorkshire town. The stone-built house was approximately 100 years old and comprised of 4 different levels, a cellar all the way up to an attic. Deeds outlining the property confirmed many previous occupants, him being around the 30th property owner at that time. I took the task of renovating the old property to improve its condition and appearance. One of the many improvements I made was to install a burglar alarm system as a security improvement. Wintertime arrived along with dark, dark nights. Parking my car at the rear of the property, the transition through the cold, dark garage and up the dimly lit stone steps became somewhat an eerie journey, with noticeable relief when I reached the kitchen and closed the cellar steps door behind me. I agree with that. Of course, I never ever expressed any concerns of this nature to Liz or Stephen, not wanting to scare them, though in Elizabeth's case, me, I didn't need to, as she already had some reservations on the property even from a young age. What ensued following installation of the alarm system were multiple awakenings in the middle of the night, from a deep sleep to near panic, due to the noise and shock of being awakened by my newly installed and very loud burglar alarm system. The alarm was being triggered and activated on every occasion by a ceiling-mounted movement sensor located on the second floor, which is the living room. Something in there was activating the alarm at nighttime, never ever during the day. To turn it off, I had to navigate 2 flights of stairs down to the cellar in the dark. Suffice to say, my blood pressure and heart rate became somewhat elevated during this repeated and unwanted activity. With further unwanted alarm issues over many, many nights, I had the system checked over by a burglar alarm engineer. No faults were found. As the winter progressed, arrival at the property and climbing those cellar steps became influenced by strong feelings and repeated touching and tugging of my outer clothing, which often made me turn around to see who the hell was behind me. No one was there. I know, right? My instincts were to shrug these happenings off, as my logical and better judgment told me to ignore such ridiculous occurrences, which could possibly not be happening. To this day, I still occasionally revisit these experiences, which I have no explanation for, but yet were very real to me at the time. Richard.
Oh my God. I am number one. I am so impressed. Thank you, Richard. And I have to say, you could probably be a story writer. It's like,
I know, right?
I was already. It's like you were only opening the door, and I was already.
And honestly, I mean, that is only such a tiny bit. I mean, walking up these particular cellar stairs, the energy. In fact, all of the flights of stairs, I would sprint, and my brother even, because you felt like someone was behind you constantly. And the house, you could have like the central heating pumping, and it would be ice cold. And just to make it worse, like it's a story, we overlooked a bloody graveyard. That didn't help either.
Okay.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you, Dad, for being honest. I'm kind of glad you weren't honest back in the days anyway, because I probably wouldn't have ever slept in the house. So
yeah, and I think as parents, again, when like it's similar to Michelle's story, it's like we kind of hold ourselves together for our kids as much as we possibly can. Oh, thank you, Richard. Thank you. And I think it's a really good segue into Prue's story. So Prue, some of you may remember, is a paranormal investigator. We had her on the show. I'll put it in the show notes what the actual episode is. But Prue was off on a trip of a lifetime around the UK and Ireland, and she had some spooky goings on that she really wanted to share with us.
Thanks,
This is
Prue.
really fantastic.
Hi, ladies. So in June this year, we went on a holiday to the UK. It was myself and my daughter, Imogen. I could feel the excitement of all my spirit family. I knew that they would be with us. My nan, Margaret, especially in spirit, was with us and gave us so many signs. Margaret's mum, which is my great-grandmother, came from Edinburgh, so it was quite emotional anyway. So on our first day in London, we met a lady that was on the tour, and she introduced herself to us, and her name was Vicky, and she was from Melbourne. Imogen and I could not believe it. She looked like our nan Margaret. That was probably the biggest sign to us, and we were feeling pretty emotional and grateful afterwards. So throughout the tour, like, Vicky did little things, and they were
specific little things that we remember Margaret doing. And I guess it was really comforting in a way. We kind of felt like she was with us for the whole trip. So yeah, we were on our tour for 24 days and we arrived in Inverness and decided we would go look at the Inverness Castle. And as we were walking along the River Ness, like up to the castle, as we approached like closer to the castle, I started hearing bagpipes, which is probably not that unusual in Scotland, right? Anyway, so I was looking around for them, but could not see anyone playing them, and Imi kind of was looking at me, and I said, "Can you not hear the bagpipes?" And both Vicky and Imogen could not hear them. So I just went, kept walking around. So we just kept going towards the castle, and in my ear it was like my Nan Margaret's voice was whispering. And when I was a child, she used to tell me, if you hear the bagpipes, then they're calling you home. And that never made any sense to me as a child, but I remember her saying that to me over, like, she probably said it 2 or 3 times, so I remember it. So as we walked through the streets, I heard them again later and asked, but Imogen and Vicky could not hear them either. So I was just like, oh, okay. Just kept wandering around. And then later in the afternoon, we visited the Blackfriars Cemetery, and there was a slight wind, but it was sunny. And as I was walking around admiring the tombstones, I heard the bagpipes again. This time, Imogen and Vicky were not there to ask, so I was kind of like, So I'm hoping, by recording some videos in the graveyard that I'd capture it, but I haven't looked through that yet. But I kept hearing Margaret's voice in my left ear, and she was telling me that when you hear the bagpipes, they're calling you home. I was just like freaking out. So the next day we left for Edinburgh, and once we arrived, Imi and I, our excitement was so high we couldn't wait to explore as we walked up the Royal Mile. And as we were walking, I heard the bagpipes and looked at Imogen, who replied, "Are you hearing them?" And I nodded, and she said that she could not. They placed a bar which was called the Angel of Bagpipes. So we thought it appropriate to have a drink and admire St Giles Cathedral, and it was just beautiful. We also stopped at the Edinburgh Woolen Mills, and I was so drawn to this Stuart tartan blanket, but I decided it would be too bulky to travel with and thought no. So then we decided we'd go watch some bagpipers that were actually really real along the Royal Mile, and that was such an amazing experience. And they were playing a song I could hear, which I later realised is the song that I was hearing in my head, and I've later realised it was called Scotland the Brave.
Oh, yeah.
That night we then proceeded to go out for dinner, and as we were packing to leave for the final day, I could still hear Margaret's voice in my ear about the bagpipes calling me home. So I'm thinking, something's going to happen to me. I'm freaking right out. So here I am trying to prepare Imogen just in case of what she will need to do if something does happen to me. The next morning, we left Edinburgh and travelled towards England. And I think it was 2 days later we decided we'd contact my parents because we hadn't contacted them while we were in Edinburgh. And they then informed me that my great aunt had passed away 2 days ago whilst we were in Edinburgh. They did not want to let me know while I was there, and all of a sudden everything just dropped and made complete sense to me. Margaret was trying to tell me, that they were all there, and obviously Edinburgh was where my great-grandma was from. For her to pass away the same time we were actually in Edinburgh, pretty special. But to get all those signs and not understand it, definitely interesting. And then we continued on our travel. We went up to Stratford-upon-Avon, and I had regrets that I did not purchase the tartan blanket because, it would have been sentimental now, to have purchased it for the 3 of them. And I guess we're walking along the town, and as we were walking through the town, I saw the Edinburgh Woolen Mill shop. And right in front in the window was the Stuart blanket that I'd been looking at. And I was like, no. So I went straight in and purchased it. And it was just like, that's just how it was meant to be. It was meant to happen that way. So yeah, we had a beautiful time overseas. Meeting the beautiful lady named Vicky who reminded us of our nan was quite special. And everyone on the bus tour actually thought she was our family anyway.
Oh,
And I guess she now is. So, yeah, very special memory.
oh, that's a heartwarming one, that one, isn't it? Thanks, Prue.
Prue, there's just so many layers to that, isn't there? Like, it's just like the fact that it was someone, so this Vicky lady was placed on the full tour, so she was there for the whole thing. It's almost like that sort of Earth Angel experience, or to have so many mannerisms and to look like, and then for other people to even think that it's like your nan as well. Like that's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But oh my God, the timing of it, and to get that news, and even I know for me, when Prue said about the bagpipes calling you home, like to continually hear it, to remember that being said to you as a child, like there's just so many layers to the story, but it's so beautiful. And that blanket, I can imagine, will be such a comfort, such a like a family heirloom almost now. Like I'm sure Prue will hand that down to her daughter as well.
And I love especially Prue being in the business and having awareness of her audience, the hearing, the seeing, the signs, the synchronicities. Obviously, she's been able to look back and pop all of those that story together and see all the synchronicities. But our loved ones in spirit have this power. They line things up with divine timing, and a lot of us miss it, don't we? I think that's just a really great example of that. So yeah, thanks for sharing, Prue. That was lovely. Okay, well, moving on, we're going to move to a little short one here, and it's by Lisa. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, Lisa is one of our team members. She does all sorts of stuff in the background. In fact, we couldn't operate without her. So Lisa's got so many ghost stories, to be honest. She's seen ghosts, all sorts of things has happened, but here's one from her.
I saw my first spirit when I was a child in my bedroom. It was an old lady at the end of my bed. I can still picture her now, but I've never seen her since. I don't know who it is. I've never seen a photo of, a relative that's passed and I recognise her. So I don't know who it was, but that was my first spirit. The house I grew up in where my parents still live, always things that would happen. So they've got old school light switches that you pull down, so like a string pulling down on the ceiling, they would swing. My brother, who's 12 years younger than me, I remember when he was a kid, he'd wave at people and say hello and tell us the names of the people that he was speaking to. My dad has seen his brother walk in the living room. So there's been so many things. Most recently, when my gran passed away, my dad specifically spoke about shoes at her funeral. And a few days later, they woke up in the morning and went downstairs and there were shoes scattered in the living room. I am currently staying with them whilst I visit England from Australia, and only a few nights ago I heard someone walking in the hallway. It's an old house, so the floorboards creak and there was no one there, everyone was in bed, so constantly things happening. But I think it's just a reminder that loved ones, guardian angels, spirits, whatever we want to call them or however we want to see them, are around, but not to harm us. I've never felt scared in here, in this house. It's always a bit of a comfort that there's people around to look out for us. So, yeah.
I like that. That's nice, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And I love Lisa, how Lisa just kind of talks as if, this is every day. Matter of fact, exactly. You can tell. but her perspective on it is beautiful, because I think I feel so tense with all of this, and it is about connection. It is that, whether they're lost in some way or whether they just need to feel some connection, or maybe they're just still connected to a home that they lived in, or some unfinished business of some description for them. Like, it's very comforting how Lisa puts that.
Oh, love it.
Oh gosh. So on that, well, we're going to go from something that's a little bit, full of comfort to something that's actually a little. I have listened to this one and it shook me, honestly, when I was listening to it. So,
okay. Preparing myself here.
Prepare yourself. So Laura Van Tyne is actually the lady who submitted this. Her name's Laura Van Tyne. She's a psychic, a healer, and a teacher from the US. And I love, Laura, that you sent this in, because it's a really good one as well. It just shows that not all of the stories are like, some of them carry some kind of deep trauma or some, heavier energy as well. So just brace yourself for this one, folks.
My name is Laura Van Tyne, and I had probably one of the more saddest ghost stories happen to me. I was with some friends and their boy, the families were together. It was a summer day, and we were out biking and such. And I noticed that my friends, husband and wife and their son, had this ghost boy with them. And they knew that I could see ghosts and stuff like that. And you could tell that they were very agitated, and the son was misbehaving quite a bit. And I just asked them, I said, is there something going on? I said, because I see this ghost boy. And they're like, oh my gosh, you can see him too. We thought we were going crazy. And I'm like, yeah. And this little ghost boy was probably like 7, 8 years old, and he was so emaciated looking. And I was able to make him feel safe, because he didn't feel safe in life. And he knew he died, but he didn't know where to go or what to do. And so I just sat down, and I'm talking to this ghost child, and I'm asking him what happened, and why are you with my friend's family? And he said that he never had a dad, and his mom would sell him for drugs and alcohol. And that there was, in the city of Portland, Oregon, and I didn't know much about Oregon at the time, there was this chain of donut stores, and below the donut store there was some illegal activities happening. So I asked him, I said, what was going on? And he said that they would starve us, and they would make us drink alcohol so we would go crazy, and then they would do really awful things to us. I don't want to really go into it, but you can imagine the worst of the worst. And then he says, and one day I just slipped out of my body, and I'm looking at my body on the ground, and I'm looking at these two men on top of my body, and I couldn't breathe, and I just slipped out. And I didn't know what to do, and I was so scared and terrified. And he says, and I saw this man, and he looked like the perfect dad. He's a dad I always dreamed of. He had a son where he says, we're like the same age. We could be brothers, he says to me. And this dad is out teaching his son how to ride a bike, and this dad is out teaching his kid how to play baseball. And he's like, that's the dad I always wanted. So I thought that I didn't know what to do, and so I just thought I would stay with this family, because they make me feel safe and happy, and they make me feel like this is the family I want. I don't know why I had the mom I did, and I don't know who my dad is, but he's telling me it was just a life full of pain, long story short. I ended up helping him. I brought in a team of angels, and we crossed him over. But this little boy in death didn't know what to do, and with that, we crossed him over so that his soul could literally have a future. A ghost, they can get stuck in time and place and stuff like that, and it stops them from their soul from evolving. And this little boy was so emaciated, so tortured, that he just found this lovely little family that he just wanted to be his.
Oh, wow. That's the full-on one, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
you can feel the sadness in that story. It's an interesting one. There's probably a lot to talk about there too, but you do hear, don't you, those stories of like attachments and from elsewhere, not necessarily linked to your family, but it suddenly can be in a certain place, in a certain situation, find yourself with an attachment.
I just find that Laura's compassion, like, obviously she works in this field, like, I mean, she knew what needed to be done, but she had so much love and compassion for the little boy, and to be able to just help him transition through. But I also think how beautiful for that family to think that dad, like, that's, he epitomized the most amazing dad. And like the little boy, to think that, he was being viewed as a brother. Like, it's a lovely thing to think that your family could be, I don't want to use the word idolized, but you know what I mean, kind of set on a pedestal in that way. And it's like, I thought it was so important, because always on this podcast we try to balance things, that it's, like, it's not all love and light out there, folks. There are, horrible things that go on in this world, but it shows too that if we can always have some love and compassion for things. And I do believe that, Laura was there for that specific instance to help that little
What a
boy
gift,
through.
Laura.
So,
you're amazing.
absolutely amazing. Yeah, beautiful, like beautiful end end to the story, and hopefully now that little boy is at peace wherever he is.
Oh, I feel like we're dotting all over the globe here. We've kind of hit like the England, the Scotland. We've gone to America. We're going to Ireland now, I believe, with your very own niece. This is a beautiful story that your niece Megan shared, so I would love everyone to hear it. And I wonder if you've heard this one before, Dianne. You can let us know afterwards.
Oh, here we go.
Hiya, so this is my spiritual as fuck ghost story. So basically I'm someone who has had loads of spiritual experiences with ghosts or spirits or whatever you want to call them, but I hadn't had one in a long time. I've kind of been closed off this last while, but I am a musician and was driving home from a gig, and I had my partner sitting on in the passenger seat with me, and I saw this woman cross the road. It was pitch black. I was cursing and biting. I was like, what is this stupid woman crossing the road here with no high vis on her, and I was giving out stink. And next thing, she got to the other side of the road and like floated up into the hedge. I started to freak out, and my partner was kind of looking at me as if I had 10 heads, and he was like, I didn't see anybody, and kept like saying no, but like seriously, I didn't see anything. And I was like, obviously I've caused that at this stage, because yeah, I thought it was a real person until they casually floated up into the hedge. So safe to say it wasn't a real person. But yeah, that is my ghost story.
Oh, love it.
It's so funny. It's like, I could just see myself as well. If it was late at night and you're driving home, I'd be giving out stink about somebody crossing the road in front of me.
Oh, but I mean, seeing the dissolve. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, that's the freaky part. It is. And I had heard that story. And like Megan does have loads and loads of things that go on for her. But when she told me this story, it was like, oh my God, that is such a good one. And then to have someone sitting in the passenger seat that's like, okay, I don't know what you're looking at. It was kind of like Prue's daughter not hearing the bagpipes.
It brings back like, do you remember, like, I don't know about you, but I think as kids we all go through ghost storytelling phases. Did you ever hear that one Lover's Lane from when you were young down the dive? No. I'm not going to share it now, but it just reminds me of those old ghost stories that get passed down through generations. Yeah. Thanks for that, Megan.
Around the campfire, sort of. Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
Love it.
Oh gosh, it's funny. So, Liz, you had shared about your dad's story, and I was trying to think, okay, well, what has happened to me, or what has happened recently? But recently, I was going off to a holy well. So Ireland has lots of sacred sites and holy wells, and there was one holy well in Sligo that I was going off to that I'd never been to before. Happened to mention it to my partner, said, oh, I'm going down to this well. He was like, oh, my dad used to bring us there as kids, and his parents have both passed. So I went off to this well, beautiful place, like really, really lovely energy in it. Decided I'd take a bottle with me and take some holy water from the well that I could take back, and we could sprinkle it on his parents' grave. And so went to the well, took the water, brought it back, and went to his house and said, oh, well, do you want to go up to the grave and we can sprinkle this across the grave? And as I was saying that, I remembered a dream that I'd had the night before, where it was his mum, whatever instructions I was getting from his mum, that I needed to sprinkle some of this water on her flower beds. So I'm not saying anything against it. But it was like, okay, I need to go out. So I said this to him, and I said, do you want me to go out and do it? And he goes, well, you better, or the neighbours will think I'm gone cuckoo. So here I am out sprinkling holy water over the flower beds. And then all of a sudden I was like, I felt like a real Irish mammy. It was like, okay, now I need to sprinkle some on the front door, and I need to sprinkle some on the back door, and sprinkle some on both the cars. That was fine. So his mum and dad were both so front of mind for me. We got into the car and we were about to drive to the graveyard, and turned on the car. Now, normally there is blaring like really heavy death or doom metal comes on instantly, like loud. And it wasn't. It was like this song came on. So I was like, oh my God. He's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, oh my God, the song. He's like, what's wrong? I said, don't you know the song? And he goes, it sounds like some sort of a mass song. And I was like, I said, that's the song that played at your mum's funeral. So for anybody in Ireland, it's called Lady of Knock. It is not a song you would ever hear I've never heard it on the radio. But this came on. I was like, oh my God, the song that was played at his mum's funeral. We were about to go to the grave. The water was associated with his dad and his dad bringing it to the well. And just all of a sudden I had this, the two just sat looking at each other. So it's like,
Oh, I love those type of stories. I mean, the synchronicity, they're like, how do you doubt that? The timing, the precision.
Yeah. Yeah.
My God, that is amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Dianne. Wow.
It was a freaky but beautiful, really, really, really like special moment. Oh, I think we have one more that we have left from the beautiful Simone who sent one in. Now, this one gives a little bit of the heebie-jeebies, so brace yourselves for this one as well, folks.
Oh, God, okay. It's nighttime now, Dianne. I've got to get to sleep tonight.
Listen to the podcast in the morning rather than at night.
This is the story of what happened at my house at Rockdale. So we used to have this house that we rented, and it always felt a little bit on the creepy side. You used to sit in the lounge room and you would look down through the dining room to the hallway where the bathroom was and the 3 bedrooms. And I would always see out the corner of my eye this shadow walking across the hallway towards the bathroom. And you would double take thinking what was going on. It used to happen all the time. Throughout the years, certain things would happen. My husband and I got married. Our friend brought us this wooden statue of 2 people hugging. I used to come home from work and I would find that pushed over. Nothing else on that, you'd say, buffet would be touched, but that one would always be pushed over and I'd pick it back up. Didn't click to me at the time what was happening. Then one night I was about 5 p.m, 6 p.m, got home from work. I was a bit tired. I was going to just lie down and have a nana nap. And as I was lying on the bed, I fell into a bit of a sleep and I got punched in the middle of my back. Woke up, there was no one there.
Oh my God.
Wasn't sure if I dreamt it, felt it, didn't know. Didn't say anything to anybody. My husband, who used to sleep in a spare room because of the snoring, he used to get flicked on the face quite a lot. So every few months he'd get a flick across the nose or a hit in the face. Then my brother-in-law, who lived in Wollongong, he used to work in Sydney, was staying at our house one night. He was sleeping in my husband's room because he was away, and I never knew this until years later, that when he was lying in bed, someone attacked him and was trying to choke him. Didn't know who it was.
Oh my God.
But I just knew there was something there. My dad used to come down and stay every blue moon, and he'd be in the spare room, and he would tell me how the room would get icy, icy cold. And I'm not just talking, like our place would be cold in winter. We could walk down the hallway and talk and condensation would come out of our mouth. But my dad said this was different. There was no condensation coming out of his mouth. It was just freezing cold in that spare room. I've always been interested in the ghosts and things like that. The company I was working for at the time, a few of us went out to the back of Liverpool Way near El Cabela Banco. There was an old manor house that these 2 mediums were doing a ghost hunt on, and I was doing the tour, and at the end of it I spoke to the mediums. I was telling them about, what I was seeing, like this figure walk across the path. By this stage, my husband had told me what had been happening to him. My sister had told me what had happened to my brother-in-law, about him being choked. By the way, he would never stay at my house again. He wouldn't let my nieces stay at my house. I never knew why until, years later when my sister told me what had happened. So then I spoke to the medium and she advised me to talk to him and tell him that if he was going to be nasty, he's not welcome in the house and he had to leave. Or if he was going to be nice, that I was happy to communicate and let him stay. During this time, my dad had passed. It's been a year since he had passed. I'd gone to a medium for some other reasons to find out what to do with my dad's ashes because it was something we never discussed. And in that, I spoke to my dad and asked him, did he know if there was someone in the house? And what came through was it was an older man who built the house, who lived there, and it was him that was in the house. So after knowing who it was and then going on that ghost hunt tour and speaking to that medium, I then actually went back to the house, spoke to the gentleman, told him I was there to look after his house and not hurt it. He was welcome to stay, but he wasn't welcome to hit us anymore. And if he was going to hit us anymore, he had to leave. And from that time on, we never, ever really felt anything again. We would see the shadow walking across the hallway to the bathroom, but never had any sort of punching, flicking in the face. And also, the wooden statue was never pushed down again. So I have to say that I think the guy's still there today. We don't live in that house anymore, but yeah, I would love to find out if there were still things happening there with the new people who are renting the house. And that's my ghost story.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it? To actually see,
Yes.
is he acting out on the new family, right? Because obviously having the conversation, someone managed to actually just quiet him and put him at peace. And I've heard lots of stories like that as well. Like sometimes just talk, like have a conversation.
Yeah, it's almost an agreement then. And they know you're not a threat. It's like, and the fact Simone was saying, you know, that we're looking after your house. So it's like, okay, this is, but the physicality, any of those things, like and choking, oh my God. And then to think that, you know, people might not tell you, like, so Simone saying her husband hadn't said, her brother-in-law hadn't said, and I'm thinking, oh my freaking God. And she takes it all in her stride. I'm like, oh my God, I would.
And there's someone getting offended because no one wants to stay at a house and it's because of this old guy in the spare room. Oh, Simone, that's awesome.
Oh my God. It just shows like how good a selection. And like we haven't been able to bring all of the stories to you that people have submitted. And, you know, we wish we could, but we had to just choose, like, I guess, representation around the globe, different kind of feels for some of them. You know, some of them are a little bit heavy, some of them are a little bit lighter, some of them are really, really warm and loving, and you know that your loved ones are there in spirit. But I guess a key kind of message in all of this is that even if you do find yourself that you're, you know, getting a nudge in the shoulder or a, you know, a punch in the belly or that, trying to think about, okay, how can you talk to someone? For me, I would be putting on my fastest pair of Nikes and getting the hell out of Dodge. I wouldn't even be reaching for the sage. I'd be gone.
Or a scum powder. Oh, I enjoyed that so much. Like, thank you to all of the hotline callers who took part in that show. That was awesome. And if you are listening and you have a story, share it. We will be sharing everything via Instagram, so make sure you are following us at spiritual.a.f. If this is your first time listening and you've had loads of fun, make sure you go and click subscribe wherever you're listening to this today as well, because we all have loads of fun. We know that there's many of you that are part of our Spiritual Renegade membership platform as well. And if you're not already, come along and check it out. We have so much fun there. There's constant sharing, constant learning. And of course, if you are one of those renegades, you do get discounted tickets to our events. And on that topic, can you believe that next week, the 3rd of November, we have our big Christmas card with Tarot by John event. This is going to be so amazing. We've had Tarot by John on the show before. If you haven't yet heard his story, we will share the link in our show notes. John is going to be coming on to answer your questions and our questions on all things tarot, as well as doing some live readings. So if you grab a ticket, you may get the opportunity to get a reading with John, and he's super, super talented. So yeah, we've only got a few tickets left. So grab one very, very quickly, and we hope to see you there. And for everyone else, it's been a pleasure as always. This is a super fun bonus episode. So we'll actually be back really, really soon next week with another one as well. So we will see you then. Thanks, Dianne. Sleep well tonight. Stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.
If you have enjoyed this episode or are a die-hard fan of the show, make sure to subscribe right now so you don't miss out on future episodes. And to share the love, you can give us an awesome 5-star review.
Help us create a world that is spiritual as fuck.